Let's uncover the dark side of your childhood's favorite Disney classics. Sleeping Beauty tells a sweet tale of a princess cursed to sleep for 100 years, awoken by true love's kiss. It's an enchanting story, but the Brothers Grimm version is based on an even older and darker Italian tale, Sun, Moon, and Talia by Giambattista Basile. In Basile's version, Talia's birth is foretold by astrologers who warn that her downfall will come from a flax splinter. Her father, in an attempt to protect her, bans flax and spinning materials from the kingdom. But one day, a peddler woman unknowingly offers Talia a spindle. Talia pricks her finger, and the curse takes effect. She falls into a deep sleep. Her father abandons her body in a distant palace. One day, a king from a neighboring land stumbles upon her and, unable to wake her, carries her to his bed. Several months later, Talia gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The flax splinter is sucked out of her finger by one of the babies, and she wakes up. But things only get worse. The king's wife, furious that her husband had an affair with Talia, orders the children to be killed and eaten. The cook saves them and replaces them with lamb. Talia, now fully awake, is accused of stealing the king's love and ordered to be burned alive. The king finds out the truth, and in a fit of rage, he throws his wife into the fire. The cook is rewarded, and the king marries Talia. Indeed, a tragic end for the king's first wife. Yet the princess gets to live her dream. Cinderella has been told in many versions, but Disney takes a more charming route. In the original Brothers Grimm version, there's no fairy godmother. Cinderella's mother dies, and she's left to endure cruelty from her father and stepmother. With help from doves, she attends a royal ball, but the stepmother makes her work hard before she can go. The prince was smitten with Cinderella and tried to find her by the slipper that was left behind. However, the stepsisters cut off parts of their feet to fit into the slipper, but the birds exposed them. In the end, Cinderella is recognized and marries the prince. But at the wedding, the stepsisters try to worm their way into Cinderella's favor. The birds retaliate by pecking out their eyes as punishment for their falsehood and wickedness, turning the two stepsisters blind for the rest of their days. Indeed, a cruel ending that had to be erased to tell a beautiful folktale to millions of children. Pinocchio by Disney is a tale of growth and redemption. Pinocchio, a wooden puppet, learns the values of honesty, bravery, and sacrifice. With the help of Jiminy Cricket, he eventually proves himself worthy of becoming a real boy. But in Carlo Collodi's original version, Pinocchio's story is far darker and doesn't end in a typical happy way. Pinocchio isn't just mischievous, he's downright rotten. From the moment Geppetto carves him, he mocks and mistreats his creator. He steals, lies, and even smashes the talking cricket with a hammer. He runs away from Geppetto's care and gets him arrested for allegedly mistreating him. Geppetto, heartbroken, sells his coat to buy Pinocchio a schoolbook, but the puppet sells it to attend a puppet show. Things only get worse from there. Pinocchio's bad choices lead him to a life of crime with two criminals, the fox and the cat. Eventually, they hang him from a tree, and for a while, it seems like that's the end of the story. But readers demanded more. So, Collodi revived Pinocchio by introducing the Blue Fairy, who saves him and guides him through many more challenges. In the end, after facing countless dangers, including turning into a donkey, almost drowning, and being swallowed by a fish, Pinocchio learns to sacrifice, change, and finally earns his humanity. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a fairy tale of how good triumphs over evil, a jealous queen, a poisoned apple, and true love's kiss bringing Snow White back to life. But the original story, as told by the Brothers Grimm, is filled with more torture and cannibalism. The queen isn't just vain, she's monstrous. When the magic mirror tells her that Snow White is more beautiful, she orders the huntsman to carve out Snow White's lungs and liver and bring them back as proof. Oh, and she also plans to eat them. The huntsman spares Snow White, who finds refuge with the seven dwarfs. But the queen doesn't stop there. She tries to kill Snow White 3 times. First, she laces Snow White's corset so tight that she suffocates. The dwarves manage to free her just in time. Next, the queen places a poisoned comb in her hair, knocking Snow White unconscious. Luckily, the dwarves save her once again. The third attempt involves the poisoned apple, which puts Snow White into a deep sleep. The dwarves place her in a glass coffin, believing she is dead. Forgetting true love's kiss, this time, it's the prince who becomes obsessed with her. He carries the coffin everywhere, and one day, one of his servants gets frustrated with the burden and gives Snow White a jolt. The poisoned apple falls out, and Snow White wakes up. The prince, overjoyed, asks her to marry him, and she accepts. The queen, however, doesn't just fall off a cliff at Snow White's wedding. She tries to kill Snow White one last time. The prince forces her to wear burning hot iron shoes and dance until she collapses and dies. Disney's Tarzan is a story of love and self-discovery. Raised by apes, Tarzan chooses the jungle over civilization and falls in love with Jane. It's heartwarming, but the original story, Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs, is much darker. Tarzan's parents, aristocrats John and Alice Clayton, are marooned in Africa. After Alice dies, Tarzan is raised by an ape named Kala, who's not the nurturing figure in Disney's version. Kala is a bloodthirsty killer, and Tarzan grows up constantly fighting for survival. After his adoptive mother is killed by a hunter, Tarzan wants vengeance on the tribe. He even kills his foster father and takes his place as the king of the apes. Tarzan's life changes when Jane arrives, but when she returns to civilization, Tarzan follows her to America. However, he ultimately lets her go, choosing to walk away from both his inheritance and the woman he loves. Disney's The Little Mermaid tells the story of Ariel, a young mermaid who dreams of life on land. She strikes a deal with the Sea Witch, loses her voice, transforms, and wins Prince Eric's love. But Hans Christian Andersen's original tale is a haunting tragedy of pain and sacrifice. Here, the mermaid's longing isn't just for love, but for an eternal soul. Mermaids live for centuries, but when they die, they vanish into sea foam. Only through a human's love can she earn a soul. After saving a prince and falling for him, the mermaid seeks the Sea Witch, who demands a brutal price: her voice, agonizing pain, and marriage to the prince, or she will dissolve into foam. Drinking the potion feels like a sword slicing through her body. Every step on land is like walking on knives, and her feet bled horribly. Despite the agony, she dances for the prince, but he marries another. Given the chance to kill him and save herself, she refuses. Heartbroken, she throws herself into the sea and dissolves. While in Andersen's version, she becomes a daughter of the air, working toward a soul through centuries of good deeds. Hercules is a light-hearted adventure, but the original Greek myth is soaked in suffering and tragedy. He is known as Heracles in ancient Greece, and is despised by Hera, Zeus's vengeful wife. From the moment of his birth, Hera tries to destroy him, sending snakes into his cradle. Later, she drives him into a violent madness, causing him to murder his own wife and children in a horrific frenzy. To atone for these unspeakable crimes, Heracles is sentenced to complete 12 impossible labors, each more brutal than the last. He battles the Nemean lion with impenetrable skin, slays the multi-headed Hydra, captures the monstrous boar, and even drags the three-headed Cerberus from the underworld. These tasks nearly break him, but Hercules' suffering doesn't end with the labors. In a cruel twist of fate, his new life, tricked by a centaur, unknowingly poisons him. The venom eats away at his flesh, and he dies in unimaginable agony. Only after death is Heracles granted immortality, ascending to Olympus to live among the gods. But even that final reward comes at the cost of endless pain and betrayal. Who knew, right? If you're loving these crazy behind-the-scenes stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. We've got part 2 on the way. You don't want to miss it.